Hello everybody and welcome to the Dark Room. Trying something a bit different today. So I've got a few clips to show you today. I've put them in an order which we're going to kind of play a game here. We're going to play Scooby-Doo endings for Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev. If you've seen the regular War Room, then of course this will make a bit more sense because I did reference this as a bit of bonus content. If you haven't seen the War Room, I recommend you pause this and go back and watch that first and then come back and watch this. So the way that most of us expect this fight to play out is that Chimaev is going to win the majority of the fight, or at least this is my take on it. I think Chimaev is going to be able to dominate the majority of this fight. I think he has the striking advantage. I think he'll be able to dominate the octagon just purely based on presence and power. And of course, he's got that wrestling in his back pocket. And I think as much as Nate's going to be able to scramble and create chaos and clamp onto Kimuras and stuff and keep the fight moving, I do always think he's going to be reactive to what Chimaev is doing. Now, that does start to change as the fight goes on. I think we all understand that as the fight goes into the later rounds, if you find that Chimaev has done 15 or 20 minutes of hard work and he starts to show some fatigue, because of course we don't know how he's going to deal with 25 minutes, that's when Nate then starts to come into this fight, and that's when you start to get those chaotic moments where he lands that big left hand, and then who knows what follows. So what I've done here is I've built a couple of Scooby-Doo endings for you. It's just a bit of fun, but it will hopefully kind of shed some light on how potentially the fight could go down if it does sway in Nate's favour, which I think is a big if. Okay. So imagine we're 20 minutes into the fight already and this is the last round and Chimaev has been dominating him on the ground. Of course, Gilbert Burns has got great grappling, great takedown defence, but Nate is very problematic in these positions as well. Now, this is something that Chimaev does a lot, which is going to be an issue for Nate. He uses this head position here, driving up. Oh, hang on a minute. He uses this head position here, driving up into his opponent. So not only does he keep him pinned against the fence, but he knows where they are when he's throwing his punches. It won't take many of these to open Nate up. Body shot as well there. But this is where Nate then starts to become problematic, when people are trying to wrestle him. And this is what I want to draw your attention to, this little Kimura trap here. Now, Nate's going to use this a lot, and it's quite consistently on this side as well, which is good because Chimaev's right-hand dominant. This happens a lot through Nate's career. He uses this consistently. He gets trapped onto this Kimura, and then he steps his right leg across and drags them over his hip. Here. Now this is going to cut to a slightly different fight because I want to keep the point going that this is a really good thing for scrambling. Because what you'll see here is Nate is going to use this Kimura. He's going to pitch a Sun Sao. And then he's going to scramble back to his feet against Gray Maynard. And then we're back into Gilbert Burns against Khamzat Chimaev, where he's up against the fence. So again, can't take him down against the fence potentially. He's being problematic. Burns roll and gets butterfly guard. And this could quite easily be a scenario I can see with Nate being in. Recovers his guard, and then we know what Nate's like off his back. I mean, this is going to be one of the ways where Nate is going to win this fight. He's not going to be in top position, and he's not going to be able to wrestle Chimaev. Even if he sweeps him, Chimaev is going to be able to continue the movement going until he's back in top position. And best case scenario, if Nate is on the floor, is for him to be in guard. On the way down to the floor, of course, he's got his guillotines. Once it hits the floor, it's about triangles. And he hasn't landed a triangle for a good number of years. But it is very, very slick the way that he does it. And it's very precise as well. In the breakdown show, I spoke about his triangle against Kurt Pellegrino, which is a really good version. But this is also a really good one. I think this guy's Alvin Robinson. Very early on in his career. And what you'll see is, look, he's got this loop over the arm here. You can see his opponent's arm. He's poking through this gap. So he's already got control of one arm here. So he's already threatening on one side. As this progresses through, though, you're going to see him frame on the inside of the bicep that's punching. Let me go back to red. See, what I'm looking at is this punch here. This is coming down in this direction. But what Nate's going to do is he's going to use his left hand to come up and brace this bicep here. He's going to bar that. That gives him some control over that arm. Here, hook. So he blocks it and then hooks as the arm starts to go away. And then he opens his guard. See how his legs open up here? Legs open up. And he pulls them right up nice and high, starts to threaten. All the while, he's still got control of this near side arm as well. So there are two things going on here. His opponent could think he's trying to bait him to take that armbar there, so he's aware of that, which is why he's staying so close to him. But at the same time, Nate is now starting to pull this knee through as well. And because he's got this block on the arm, he's stopping that arm getting any closer. He's able to create some space for his knee. Hang on a minute, cut to top position. Here we go. There's the frame inside the bicep. Now he actually overshoots on this one a little bit, but he readjusts nicely. Now this is the point where he goes from controlling the arm to controlling the back of the head with his other hand. Here we go. Now look what he's doing with this leg here. Post on the forearm. Now his leg's clear of that shoulder. Up to this point, there's something controlling that leg. Little push on the forearm, and the leg comes over. But then, as I said, he kind of overshoots because his opponent's pulling out. Like you can see his opponent pulling away from him here. But Nate's just able to get a clamp on him, goes back to the arm. And as his opponent now drives back in because he's now afraid his arm's in danger, he opens back up, whack, back on with the triangle. And this is very similar to the Kurt Pellegrino fight because you see him with his legs crossed here. You see he's got control of the arm that's in the triangle, but it's not perfect. It's not locked up yet. And watch the sequence. Pulls himself closer to his triangle. Readjusts. This is where he's going to change his leg position right now. So here, that's the position he's in right now, and he's going to change that to this position because that's what creates the triangle. That's where the triangle is, in that space. That's the space that's got the shoulder and the arm and the head of his opponent trapped. And there's the readjustment. And there's the leg, and he reaches for his foot. Look, we're watching here. Reaches for his foot and pulls his foot nice and tight into the back of his knee. I'm sure there's a name for that part of the body. I don't know what it is. The pit of the knee, maybe. Who knows? But that's where you can see it's pulled tight. And then from this position, you can also see how tight that triangle is. Not a lot of space there to breathe. Okay. So that's one possibility. He might get taken down. He might be able to get taken down out in the open with a bit of space, and he might be able to set up this triangle. But again, it's going to require Chimaev to be hurt or tired or both. Preferably both if you're Nate Diaz. See, he's even being very clever here because he knows that he's trying to push this elbow across. You jiu-jitsu people out there will know this. And he feels that elbow is being pushed across and he pulls it back. But Nate just goes to the back of the head and pulls down anyway. And that is a very tight triangle. Love it. Okay. I've got two of these to show you. A little game for you to play. Tell me how many fights that was in that first playlist, and then do the same for this next one. There's more in this next playlist than there was in the first one. So, what was unrealistic about that is that Nate wasn't covered in blood. What is going to be more realistic is that if we're in the 4th or 5th round in this fight, and Chimaev is tired, and he is starting to get hit with a bunch of shots, and he's starting to look unstable on his feet, or he level changes because he's tired and Nate's putting pressure on him, most likely if we get to that situation, Nate is going to be bloody because he's got a lot of scar tissue, and Chimaev will have already done a number on his face. He will already have taken him down at some point, held him up against the fence and punched him or elbowed him or both. Or he might have hit him, punched him off his feet and dropped him against the fence like McGregor did. And then same thing, punches and elbows, because I do feel like he's going to be aggressive with his grappling in this one to try and prove a point. I think he knows he can outstrike Nate, and I think he'll prove that, but I also think he wants to show that he can take on the best part of Nate's game, which is his jiu-jitsu. Okay. So let's say we do get into the later rounds. This is most likely what's happened. Chimaev has taken him down at some point, and he's smashed him up against the fence, just like he did to John Phillips. Now this was nice and efficient, of course, against Reese McKee. It was lift up and carry over to his corner. Against the Leech, it was lift up and carry over to Dana. Like, he's becoming more of a showman as it goes on. Now, I don't know whether he got a little bit of a reality check against Gilbert Burns because his output wasn't quite as high, but I think he can wrestle hard for 15 minutes. I think if he's forced to work in defense submissions and stuff, then that might, squeeze his gas tank a bit. Whether he can do it for 25 minutes or not, I don't know. And this is where we're, the Diaz fans out there, me included, are hoping that this goes into the later rounds, because I want to see Chimaev under that kind of pressure, the kind of pressure that he put Leon under. I also know that is most likely where Diaz is going to win the fight. So the first sort of 10 or 15 minutes, I'm going to kind of be watching through the gaps in my fingers, because at any point I'm expecting Chimaev just to put him away. And I kind of expect this sort of situation where Nate's smashed up against the fence and nullified off his back. And this takes me back to this moment here. Now, I've watched Nate's entire career in the last couple of weeks, which is part of the reason why we're here in this situation right now with you watching me in a darkened room with old footage and weird sunglasses on. But not only is it fascinating, and I recommend it for anybody, but you also can chart the progress of damage on his face, which I think is going to play a big role in this fight. Now, as far as I can tell, this was the first time he got this big cut over his eye, and it was actually a punch. I thought it would be an elbow, but this is Kurt Pellegrino. You can see he's bringing this big left hand down. Or is it his right hand? There it is. Big right hand comes down, and you can see it lands right on Nate's eyebrow, right above his eye here. Now, from that cut, as soon as that cut happens, you can go back and watch this fight yourself. As soon as that cut happens, you see Nate starting to scramble, and you can see blood. And it's the first time I see it in his career. And then what happens is Pellegrino, just smashes through his guard here. Pellegrino is a good black belt. I think Nate might still have been a brown belt at this point. He lands a couple more shots, but then once he passes his guard, this is when he really does his work. Look at that, stuffs the leg, steps over, and then takes advantage of this moment where Nate's trying to kick him away. Big shot. Where it is? There we go. There's the smash pass. Look how he changes his hips. Brings his near side leg up and over. And then he literally hops to side control. Nate's got this arm floating around here, which is causing him all kinds of problems. Causing Nate all kinds of problems, or at least it's about to. Grabs it, pins it to the floor. Like, this is a Chimaev position if I've ever seen one. And this is where he goes to work on this cut that he's just opened up. Now, this cut has been a problem all the way through his career. You can see the cut's already opened up here. You can't see it in black and white, but it's there, and there's a lot of blood. That's kind of my artistic impression of what's going on here. That same cut opened up against Masvidal as well. Oh, I forgot about this one, of course. I dropped this. This is the more recent one. This is over the other side of the eye, and as far as I can tell, this is also a new cut. So against Masvidal, he got that cut opened up again, and he got one underneath his eye. And in this fight, he got one over his eye here and one on the side of his head. Like, there's a lot of scar tissue that's been gathered over the last couple of fights that is going to be fresh and ready for splitting again. You can see this power elbow that Leon drops all of his weight into here. Whack. Smashes him with that elbow. And you can see the cut here. Oh man. There it is. There you go. Artistic impression. And then as he moves his head over to the other side, that's when Leon attacks the other side of his head with 2 smash elbows again. Big power shot. Bang. Bounces off his temple, and then I think this is the next one that does the cut. There. Oh, it's starting to rain. It's getting cinematic in here, Jamie. Okay. So this is the point where we go, okay, right. As you can see, there's a lot of blood on Nate Diaz. He's cut here. There's a lot of damage here. So this is the point when the doctor can come in, and it's up to the doctor whether he continues or not. And that is kind of not really up to Nate. It's dependent on the doctor and what they're seeing with these cuts. Like, how bad are these cuts? How difficult are they going to be to stitch? How deep are they? The issue is that because this is scar tissue on scar tissue and cuts on cuts, like that one that opened up against Pellegrino, I can think of 7 fights where that opens up that I've watched back, and I'm like, is that cut again? And I think in McGregor, it opened up underneath his eyebrow as well. Like, there's a lot of damage on his face, and I expect this to be a big part of this fight. It would be disappointing if we got the same result as the BMF belt, because that cut, he was dealing with that cut from the opening, the opening minute of the fight. It's this moment here where the fight can be taken away from him because of the doctors, is the point I'm trying to make, and I think we all know that. But let's just say that doesn't happen, and Chimaev's invested all of that energy. Diaz is still going to approach him with this kind of attitude where he's just going to swarm him, and he's taking shots here, and he's not really bothered, but he's pressuring, and the difference is he's making his opponent work. And under this kind of pressure, a striker like Masvidal taking these shots, he's going to stand in striking range and do what's most natural to him. Look, he's pouring at him. Like, you can even see how he's flicking his wrist back to pull his hook in. Like, it's not a power punch. It's not going to do a lot of damage. But what it can do, especially if you feel like you're already suffocating, if you feel like you're already drowning, it'll make you reach for things. It'll make you do things that you don't want to do. With strikers, it makes them pull their hands away from their head or lean their head away from their guard. With wrestlers or with grapplers, it generally makes them try for takedowns. And this, if I'm creating a scenario for Nate Diaz to win, this is it. It's going to be the last round. It's going to be a couple of minutes left, and he's walking him down, and he's slapping him, and he's, frustrating him and making him flustered, and Chimaev is going to level change. And most likely Diaz is going to be bloody at this point. Or this might happen. He might just bang, catch him with that big left hand. And then, again, Leon, another striker, stays on his toes and does a good job of moving. But the instinct in Chimaev in this situation might be to level change, especially if he's already dominated him for, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the fight. If he's already been beaten up on the floor, he might think another quick level change. And this is what Nate's so good at. He's so good at keeping his hips and legs away when someone level changes. Like most of the time when someone level changes from this position, look how close their hips are. Most of the time, people are going to be able to level change and get this hand around the back of this leg. But what Nate's really good at is as soon as he sees that level change go, his instinct is to put weight on the back of their body and wrap. And that's what he's done here. So his right arm he's going to wrap over and into the armpit of his opponent, and the other one is on the chin. And from this position, he will just kind of, everything else goes to the side at this point. As long as he's got that chin and that hook over the arm, he just stays on it. Runs his legs away. So Jim Miller here is just reaching, even tries to hook with his leg. That's how desperate he is to close this distance. Look at that hook with his leg. That's not Jim Miller. He's a logical grappler. That shows you that he's panicked in this situation. You can also see this loop that Nate's got. That is under the chin of Jim Miller, and this one's just wrapped and keeping tight over that arm. Keeps his hips away, keeps his hips away. Look how his hips are all the way away. Creates himself some space. Now, as he goes to sit and pull him into this guillotine, of course, Jim Miller knows what's happening, so he's going to turn and he's going to bail out to one side. Now, the good thing is that this gives us a little look at the positioning of Nate's arms. So that arm is there, look. That is a deep bite on that guillotine. And then the other arm is here. Now, what he's also done, let me just simplify that. So there's the guillotine arm. There's the wrap over the arm, and then he's got that leg over the top as well. I mean, you can see how many controls he's got of his opponent there. But the reality is, as long as he's got the arms, as long as he's got the hand or the arm wrapped over into the armpit and that deep bite on the neck, look, there's his elbow there, look. Like, you can see how deep that arm is around that neck. Against Sun Sao, he was tapping before he even got his hands together. It was that deep. Okay, so this is where he's going to lose control of Jim Miller. But he goes back over to that hook over the arm, look. Bang. And you'll see the same thing against McGregor as well. You'll remember McGregor trying to turn over in this direction, and then Nate using this to anchor and pull him back. I talk about it in my breakdown show. It's a great finish, really, really slick. But let's just watch this through so you can see what I'm talking about. So here we go. Hand on the back of the armpit here, controlling. Jim Miller's turning to try and stay out of this guillotine. And he comes up and he resets. And then we're going to switch to a Sun Sao. Here he is. Now, Sun Sao's smart. He gets his knee in. But again, as long as Nate has got that wrap over the arm, which he has here, wrap over the arm, there's the guillotine, there's the wrap. As long as he's got that double control, everything else can fall into place at a later moment. Sits to guard to try and pull guard, but as Sun Sao is driving that leg through, you can see, driving this knee through, which is making it difficult for Nate to close his guard and get proper control, which gives him that bite over the neck. Yeah, he tries to adjust a little bit, but he doesn't get it, so he lets the Sun Sao roll, and this is now where you start to see more adjustments from Nate. But again, look, wrap over the arm. Like when he gets this bite, he's very good at just kind of flowing through from one position to the next. He's very good at allowing his opponent to try and scramble and roll, and he just spends his energy on chin strap, wrap over the arm. Like Sun Sao's trying to bail out here, but Nate just stays clamped onto him. There you go, you can see how deep that is. There's his hand just there, look. Like you can see. Hang on. There's his hand underneath the chin. Like all locked in and tight. Then throws his leg over. And the point when he feels like he's got control of the body is when he then starts to remove the arm. You can see he's just about to remove the right arm there. And look at that. Look how familiar that position is. This is Melvin Gillard. And he's going to switch the other angle. Now he's got his hand out and in position. Hands together. Leg over the back of the head to control. Look how deep that is. That's his arm. There's his hand. Leg over to control. That's a really good bite of his opponent. You got to think, like Melvin Gillard's neck is there, just getting squeezed and pinched at the same time as his body's being stacked into it. Really uncomfortable position. Very easy to get someone to submit if their lungs are already burning because they've been working for 20 minutes. Little nod. Didn't even get a chance to showboat in that one. It's going to be a fun fight. It's going to be interesting. Of course, it's that Scooby-Doo ending for Nate that's going to do it. We'll see. But hey, if the fight plays out the way that we expect and Chimaev irons him out and beats him up and cuts him and the doctor steps in, at least you can come back here and watch these Scooby-Doo endings and maybe they'll make you smile. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this. Leave a comment in the leave a comment in the section below and let us know what you think. I can do some more of these, but they'll be specific to just random stuff that doesn't normally fit anywhere else. And remember, tell me how many fights are in the first playlist and then in the second one. First correct answer gets pinned. There you go. A little bit of fame. Everybody loves a bit of fame. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.